You don't want to wear these great comfortable shoes through the day and then come home and walk on hard tiles if you've got plantar fasciitis. It's like going for a run and coming back and eating a Big Mac. 7 out of 10 customers, we come into our retail store where they have gone onto Google, Googled words like heel pain, come up with a word and then come into the store. You could be a size 8 in one shoe and a size 39 in another. And people don't necessarily have that perspective.
You have your big orthotic shoes. Okay, it's nice to have. You keep your doctor happy that you've bought them, but are you actually going to wear them on a day-to-day basis?
They have to be worn.
Welcome to the Comfort Walk and Talk, where every step towards comfort is a step towards a healthier you.
We're your hosts, Ash,
Jeff,
And Ben.
together let's walk the talk, transforming your lives from the ground up. Welcome back to another episode of our podcast. We're here today, we're talking to Dan, a retailer, and I wanted to talk to Dan because he has had considerable experience in retailing with companies like Footlocker, so, footwear companies like Footlocker, and also completely different, set up the Travelex business in Asia, probably around about 400 or 500 outlets. Dan might confirm that. But Dan's had extensive experience dealing with customers and their needs, and that's really what we want to touch on today. So without further ado, and then just finally too, Dan has recently in the last sort of 4 years set up a retail business in Australia around footwear, his own retail business, Natural Fit, and he's also working with us to launch our Comfort Co retail business. So Dan is a really key retail partner to us, and without further ado, welcome Dan.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Ben. It's exciting to be here.
Thank you. And my first question to you is why retail and why footwear?
Look, I think retail is a fundamental part of our culture in Australia, but why footwear in retail is that there's so many different variations of footwear that you can't just get a one size fit all. Footwear needs to be sized, it needs to be fitted, it needs to be experienced, it needs to be tried, it needs to have a conversation, it needs to have different colours. Retail is a fundamental part of being able to try on good footwear.
Yeah, I must admit, with footwear, it's about one of the only things that I'm still a bit hesitant to buy online.
Yeah.
I do still like the going into a store, trying it on, seeing how it looks, how it feels, and because all of your lasts are different. You get one shoe that fits this way, it might necessarily fit another brand as well. So
yeah, well, then that's why it's so important to have both a footwear retail offering and also an online offering. I believe that there's probably about 7 out of 70% of the time customers will actually look on our website before they actually go into a store. So it's really, really important to match the two together. But we get 4 out of 10 customers online return shoes because it's not the right fit or what they see in the image, or whether it's what they're actually looking for. So it's really, really important that you've got that real on-site opportunity for the customer to come and try shoes on inside the store, which, to your point, people are becoming more and more comfortable with shopping online, but you're going to find that they'll go through 2 or 3 moments or 2 or 3 tries of trying on shoes, whether it be in store or whether it be exchanges, before they settle down and then become confident for the online purchase. So I think it is getting better, Ben, but I don't know whether it excludes coming into a retail store just yet.
we do have certain things on our website. So we utilize a technology, FitRight, I believe it is, where you measure your foot against a credit card and it works it out on an algorithm, your length versus your width. Yep. But again, probably still doesn't stack up to that experience of coming into a store and actually getting it put on your foot.
No, it doesn't. And I think that's what coming into a store does. It's not just about getting the length right. It's also about getting the full girth right. It's about getting the arch height right. And I think that's, when you look at the scanner that we've got in stores now, that I know that the Global Foot Care is endorsing and the Comfort Co is endorsing as well, that technology is starting to really help in-store scanning or in-store sizing, so then it does influence the online channel.
So just maybe before we get into the detail of what that technology does, what I think our consumers would like to know, coming into your type of store, what other experience that they should expect from your staff and your team and all that in terms of footwear purchasing?
Yeah, well, the experience, or if you ask the question, what they're going to experience, I think that's probably the first part that I'd start with, is that they're going to get an experience coming into the store. It's not done at 10 o'clock at night where you have to make all those decisions yourself. You're going to have dialogue. You're going to have someone that you trust. We have these situations where customers come into the store and they've self-diagnosed themselves with heel pain, and they see these big words like plantar fasciitis, and they come in and they fumble through this word, and then all of a sudden my team members can actually say the word. Well, it's like that's it. I'm going to trust this person. So I think what customers are going in and expecting when they go into a store is they've got someone that they can talk to. They've got someone they can offload some of their problems to, and then they can start getting some solutions. And that's what we do really, really well in stores. We get that relationship nice and quick. We ask the right questions, and then we can go through a recommendation stage.
So how do you given that's the experience, how do you select product for your store? What sort of product do you have, for their consumers, and how do you select it? What are the
it's how we select products for our store is based on 5 major points. One being, does it have a solution for a problem and common problems? And those problems are heel pain. Those problems are bunions. Those problems are wide feet or issued feet, if that's played. Whether it be too long, too short. So unique sizing as well is another function. So that's probably the first thing. The second thing is well-known brands. So customers have to have some well-known brands. So brands that will actually populate themselves out there in the community. We like, obviously, quality is the third sort of thing that we look for. It's got to have a function as well. So when we select shoes, we'll go through morning to night. So it won't be just fashion shoes. It won't be just performance athletic shoes. It won't be just thongs or summer shoes. It'll be a selection of different diversity that takes them from the morning to the night. And then the last part being, is it something that actually a customer's going to like? And that's really
stylish.
Really, stylish. Yeah, and I think they're probably when we sit down and we select our range and we select the brands and we select the suppliers, they're the 5 major attributes that we're looking for.
It's funny you should say that, because as you're going through your list there, I'm ticking it off. That's the exact same reason why we want to have our shoes. It's probably why we're such good partners over the years.
100%.
Is that, does it solve a problem? Is it stylish? Is it something that a customer's actually going to wear?
Yeah,
that's an issue that when we were first getting into foot care and all of that, is you have your big orthotic shoes that, okay, it's nice to have, you keep your doctor happy that you've bought them, but are you actually going to wear them on a day-to-day basis?
No, they have to be worn, and that's and they have to be worn over different functions as well. It's like going for a run and coming back and eating a Big Mac. You don't want to lose your run, do you? So you don't want to wear these great comfortable shoes through the day and then come home and walk on hard tiles if you've got plantar fasciitis. It ruins all the great work that you're doing through the day. So you've got to like the shoes that you're wearing through the day, but you also need the different variety of shoes so that it takes you through the different activities that you'll do through the day, whether it be chasing the grandkids, walking the dog, or going for a walk yourself, or even just walking around the house. There's different functions that people need those shoes for and that support for.
Do you think that the expectation from the customer has changed in terms of the look and the style, over the years in your experience?
I think the general feedback we get from customers is that when they were growing up, and some of our customers are in their 50s and 60s, if they needed supportive shoes, and you got to think some of these customers have been wearing what they say in inverted commas for 20 or 30 years, these orthotic friendly shoes, or these comfort shoes, or these structured shoes. And 20 years ago, they were pretty boring shoes, right? And they were black and brown, yeah. And now what customers are seeing is that you can put an orthotic into a really stylish shoe. And you think about where influencers are these days, and the products that they're putting on their feet, and the clothes that they're wearing.
Are they all good? Are customers coming in with those images?
100% they are. They're coming in, but you see you see what people are influencing online. You've got, you've got styles yourself that you've been inspired with based on what you're seeing out there in the market.
You have to meet the expectation.
You have to. And sometimes those shoes that they see on some of these influencers over in Europe or whether it be in the States, and they're not good shoes for their function. They can't wear those. They'll actually really hurt themselves if they continue to wear those styles. So having an example of a shoe that's inspired by that look, it might not be exactly that look, but inspired by that look is really, really important to a customer because they want to be that where that influence has taken them, but they know that they can't wear that shoe because it's just not good for them. So having the support and having the actual style itself, it's very equal. It goes hand in hand.
It's just having it's like any kind of medical condition, anything like that. You don't want it to alter your life. You don't want to, change how you're going about your day to day just because you've got blank.
That's right.
So it's nice to be able to make shoes to accommodate those people as well.
Yeah, and look, I think that's what the customers. We go back to the question that you asked, what the customer's expecting when they come in. They want someone that they can trust in that moment. And we talk about if something happened around my house, the first person I would call is my dad. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily call a handyman. I wouldn't call a carpenter. I'd call my dad. Now, he doesn't always give me the right answer, and then I have to go get that handyman. But that would probably be...
It's the opposite with me, by the way.
Is it right? They call a handyman first. Yeah. But, it's the same thing. If we've got our team that can be trusted by our community, and we do, that's what's happening in some of our heritage stores. The customers will use us as their first form of defence to be able to solve their problem before they have to go and see a healthcare expert. And 9 times out of 10, the right footwear can probably solve 90% of the problems, right? And that's really important to a customer, is that they can get that solution first. And that's why retail is so important at the moment.
So how many of your customers would you say would come in with an actual diagnosis rather than a WebMD diagnosis? Yeah,
so 7 out of 10 customers would come into our retail store where they have gone onto Google. They have Googled words like heel pain, come up with a word that they can't pronounce, and then come into the store. Or they've been told by a friend that they've probably got this condition, or they've been told by a partner they've got this condition. So they've self-diagnosed. I would say the other 30% would be where they've actually gone to a healthcare professional and said, and whether that be a GP or a podiatrist, and said that they've got a plantar fasciitis or they've got a bunion, and they come in and actually ask. We are in store very direct with our communication. We're very forward with it. We will say what we believe is the solution to a possible problem, but we also don't pretend to be that healthcare professional either. So we've got partners around our areas that we team up with, podiatrists and GPs, that we would say, listen, go and see this podiatrist and then come back and see us.
And have you got any it'd be interesting to hear some of your stories about how you've really changed the customer's life with your footwear.
Yeah, changing the customer's life has been, I've got a million stories, but one that probably comes to mind straight away is, it was only about 2 or 3 weeks into starting Natural Fit's business. Her name was Doris, and I tell this story a lot in our interview process, to be honest. And her name was Doris. She came in, it was just before Christmas at Fig Tree, and we had the Santa Christmas party that night. So I was trying to wrap up the store, and Doris came in with her husband, and she had a size 11 foot, and I said, Doris, we can fit you with probably 60% of the shoes in this store. And her husband said, if you fit my wife with any shoe, we will buy it. Now, Doris was about 85 years old, right? So so we spent a bit of time on this, and Doris told the story of when she was growing up, her father would take her down the hardware to buy her shoes from the hardware because they couldn't find shoes for her growing up. So anyway, an hour and a bit later, they bought about 9 pairs of shoes, and she's been a customer. We buy her a cup of tea every month, but she's been a customer with ours us for a long time. And so, yeah, that's probably the story that comes to mind for me in terms
Amazing.
of, yeah.
Do you get a lot of customers that buy quite a few, multiple pairs at a time, or?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, our relationship is about being able to experience and to be able to help a customer experience life in its fullest. That's to keep them active from the time that they get up to the time they go to bed. That's really, really important. So when we recruit people who have obviously got, great retail experience and have the ability to be taught the features and benefits of the footwear we sell. However, their other ability, and it's very, very important to me, is a customer that can ask the right questions to get under the skin of what and peel back the skin of exactly what the issues are with a customer. And that could be whether they're traveling, that could be whether they are walking the dog, like I mentioned before, whether they are active themselves, whether they're walking around their house, what conditions they've got. So with that, by the time that we bring out all those options, customers are sitting there going, well, why wouldn't I take X, Y, and Z? So, we run probably our last 60% of sales are multiple pairs of shoes.
Wow.
60%, yeah, by a long way, 60%.
So you mentioned earlier one of your criteria is fixing problems like, someone has heel pain or someone has wide feet and all that. How do you deal with, say, the whole issue of having shoes that can fit a wider foot in the store?
Yeah, well, how we fix issues, and whether it be wider feet or whether it be bunions or whether it be whatever it be, the first thing we've got to do is get the customer seated and get those shoes off their feet. Our team are trained, and I think most retailers should endorse this, is to actually look at the foot. We've been looking at our own feet and saying that we've got wide feet since we were babies, or we've got narrow feet, or we've got long feet. Everyone knows from a logical perspective what their foot is. Trial and error, especially in today's world where there's different shoes and different sizes. You can be a size 8 in one shoe and a size 39 in another. And people don't necessarily have that multilingual sort of perspective.
Do they come and determine that they are a size 8?
They are.
They need to squeeze into a size 8 regardless?
Sometimes. I think that's changing. I think 7 years ago when we started Natural Fit, I think there was probably more of a tendency for that to occur.
Okay.
I think over the last sort of 5 to 6 years, customers are identifying that there's different sizings in the footwear industry. But for us, the big thing is my team walk around with a Brannock, and most of our customers.
So a Brannock is that's a measuring
device. Yeah. That if you grew up buying shoes at a family shoe store, they measured your foot in one of the steel devices that's called a Brannock device. And customers that we've got, they align that Brannock with a good family shoe store. And
right.
if you get sized,
so you don't get measured in a Brannock in like a big box store or something.
No, I don't think you do anymore. I think that's sort of, in fact, a lot of actual footwear retailers have avoided that. And whether that's been a training issue or whether it's a staffing issue, we value it very, very much so.
So you're saying to get a good service, really, you should expect to get measured, like you do get your shirt measured if you go into a menswear shop.
100%. I think it's really important.
I agree.
I think it's really important to get that service, but it's not always accurate. Like you wouldn't put your foot in there and say, okay, you're definitely a size 9 or you're a 9.5. No. What it does is allows the team member and the customer to be able to see their foot in a metric way of some sort.
So tell us now, you've got the Brannock. Tell us now, because you mentioned the scanner before. What's the scanner going? Because the scanner is pretty amazing. We've obviously been we've introduced it to the market, and you've launched it in your stores. It's pretty amazing. Tell us how's it going to change.
Well, I think there's 3 things that the scanner's done for us, and we've had this in our stores now for 3 weeks, and it's working really, really well. And I think the first thing is it's exciting.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's
the customer gets on the device. It's quick. You don't have to walk up and down it. You don't have to jump on it. You don't have to go left, right, and center. You can just stand on it. It's quite fun. And
with or without socks.
Correct, with or without socks, right? And you can see you can see what comes up on the screen really nicely. I think the second thing it does is it gives the customer a little bit more information and it verifies a little bit more about what they have. So as you know, the scanner will give you your size left and right against the average. That's been a real big hit. Okay, well, that's my right foot is bigger than average, my left foot's less than average. So now I'm going to trust that I need to get a size up, not squeeze myself into a small size.
Get it.
And I think the third thing that the scanner does that possibly doesn't come with a good old-fashioned Brannick device is it gets different dimensions. It gets the arch, it gets the girth, it gets the height of the arch, it gets the instep, it gets the length as well. So, and it also allows the customer to see the pressure points so that they can start adding things onto the shoe to make it tailor-made. Like most people want a tailor-made experience, right? And that's whether that's tailor-made suits that you can get in Tim Choi in Hong Kong, or whether that's shoes that you can get made by a Podorthus. Tailor-made's always better than buying off the shelf. What the scanner does is allows us to find shoes and the inner soles that will tailor-make as close as we can to a shoe without necessarily having to go and spend that $600 or $700. If you've got different size feet, the scanner will pick that up and it will give you the advice on what you can do, whether it be an inner sole or a different type of shoe, to be able to solve that problem for you. So customers generally will want to go the smaller size. They generally want to go the smaller size. So if they've got a size 9 foot on the right and a size 9.5 or 10 foot on the left, they're generally going to try and squeeze their left foot into a size 9. And that's general. And some people they go against that.
And
trend,
then they'll probably get a blister on that.
That's exactly. Or they form different conditions that they don't have, such as hammer toe or other issues that we can have. And we make a living off stilettos, right? We don't stock stilettos, but the stilettos that they bought 25 years ago, they're now coming in and purchasing proper footwear off us. So we've made a living out of that. But I think what happens now is the scanner allows that customer to see technically that they should be in a certain size based on the larger size of their foot.
How long does it take for a scan?
The actual scan itself doesn't take more than a minute. Yeah. But the discussion that happens afterwards has been really surprising. I thought that I would show a few different metrics on the screen and the customer would get their scan and walk away. But the questions that have been coming back from the customers and the dialogue that it's set up and the interest that has started to follow on from one of those scans. And we can talk for about 5 or 10 minutes afterwards, but the scan itself is about 45 seconds to a minute.
Yeah, wow. So when someone does get scanned, do they get a list of shoes that would come recommended, or is that down to whoever's staff's working to pick those out?
Over time, that's going to happen, Ben. I think the AI of the actual scanner itself will start to develop that intel, and then I think that as suppliers and as the scanner becomes more well known in Australia, especially, I think suppliers will join together to get that information in, so that we've got a collective sort of measurement system or metric system. At the moment, what it does is it allows my team to be able to go, right, okay, they need something with a higher instep, or they need something that's broader or wider, which we get that information from a Brannick, but it's not as specific, and it's certainly not as reliable than just on the naked eye. But I don't think it's either or. I think it's and. So I think the foot has to be shown. The customer needs to show their foot to my team member. My team members have the experience and they have the expertise to be able to say, right, okay, I know exactly what type of shoe I would start with here. But then having that information up on the screen actually gives the team member the confidence to be able to go and find that shoe as well. And it gives it sets the dialogue for framing. So when they're going out to get that shoe, the customer isn't necessarily stuck on one pair of shoes. The team member's able to go out the back like they do and say, well, I'm going to bring you out 5 pairs of shoes, all that are going to be wide, all that are going to have a little bit more room in the instep. I'll bring these 5 out and we can choose which styles you like the most, rather than say, is that shoe going to fit? Well, no, that shoe's not going to fit. So you go through this range of disappointments before you actually get to a shoe that matches both. So what we're doing now is we're prescribing shoes. We're not offering shoes. It's a big difference between where the world was sort of 5 years ago, where the world will be in 5 years. So I think the team members are trusted in our store by customers for a number of different reasons, mainly because of the relationship they can build with the customer first. And that's big. My team, and I think in a lot of retail environments, the genuine conversation that comes out and the care that comes out from retail to the customers is certainly still there. Then when we look at the team members and the training that they go through, they are trained to be able to identify different features of the foot and the problems that exist, and what then goes into what shoe. And I remember going back and doing my maths in year 12, and my maths teacher said, if you memorize the formulas, then the rest of the exam's really easy, because you just have to memorize what formula it is. And then once you see the question, you can just slot the numbers into the formula. Well, it's very, very similar in this scenario, where if they see a wide foot, or they see a high arch, or they ask the right questions, and they can get that trust from the customer, because the customer and them have built a relationship. They can get those questions out and they can get those answers back. Then all of a sudden you're prescribing, because the relationship's there, and you're able to go out the back and find the numbers that fit that formula. You're able to find the shoes that fit that issue. And that's generally what we are able to do 8.5 hours a day while the stores are open.
So I'm just curious, if someone were to come into a Natural Fit, get their foot scanned and take away their results, if they were to go into another shop, another shoe shop, and present them with those results, do you think that store would be kind of fish out of water, or is that the Natural Fit and Comfort Co difference there, do you think? Or
I think the question being, if they take those results into another store and get that same experience, I think let's hope so, because we're not just here to sell shoes ourselves. If we're genuine about what we're trying to do, which is to solve problems for customers, it doesn't matter whether they buy a shoe from Natural Fit or they buy a shoe from another retailer. That's, we prefer them at Natural Fit, obviously, but we're hoping that by us being a little bit more innovative with this technology, that other retailers will follow with that. And then, they can take those results and get footwear in other stores and get that experience. But we're hoping that the scanner actually goes to other retailers, so that they get those scans in other retailers and come to us. And we can interpret that for them. I think interpretation is still a big key in the scanner. It's not just about the actual results. We're not at that point where we can just get specific shoes. Interpretation is still very, very important.
Dan, just a bit of a change of tact. In terms of retailing footwear, have you got any sort of ideas or things percolating that you're looking to do in the future in this whole journey that you're on?
Yeah, I think retailing needs to be more diverse. That's my plans, and where I would like to take retail is to be diverse, whether it be diverse in payments, diverse in offerings, diverse in whether we can. The scanner's a great idea. I think curbside is definitely.
What does that mean?
Curbside is where we come to them.
Okay.
So that's really, really important. I think that, Ben, your first question was why go into a footwear store? Well, I think why not go into a footwear store is because it's not convenient all the time. So having an opportunity to pop up in places that are convenient, whether that be in gyms or whether that be at sporting complexes or whether that be at sporting grounds. Bowling clubs. If that matches the demographic, hotel foyers when you're away.
You take the scanner with you, maybe?
100%. The scanner is in the back of the van. We are mobile with the scanner. So I think, where retail is in the future, it has to be more tailored to the customer's needs. Now, whether that means opening up a specific thong-only store near Cronulla Beach, that's really important. That might mean that between November and January, that's where we're located. And then, maybe being a little bit closer to where the mountains are in March through to April for outdoor adventure footwear. I'm making that up as we go, but it needs to be diverse. Retail needs to be diverse.
It's exciting you should say that, because we'll do the big reveal here. We're actually here at the Comfort Co getting you on as a partner to help us out with our upcoming retail stores.
100%.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's coming up, the Comfort Co getting a bit of brick and mortar, where we're going to be, what we're going to offer, and things like that?
It's very exciting. I think the Comfort Co is something that will really complement Jeff and the organisation's future. Having a business that will be very specific to the functions and the values that you believe in as a supplier is going to be able to get to the customer front. I see that to be the most exciting thing, that in the last sort of 15 years that you guys have been operating, you've been trying to get that message through the retailers, and sometimes, as you know, messages don't always get through to the customer front straight away. You can do your best online, but when you have 100, 150 customers coming in a day, and you've got the ability to partner with someone that will be able to get that message through to the main customer, I think it's really, really exciting. And the offering to the customer can be a lot more widespread than something that's a little bit more specific.
When can our customers expect those stores?
July 1 in Melbourne and Sydney. So, Greensboro in July and Marrickville in July is probably what we're aiming for as the first line.
So any listeners, take note, write those dates down, and we'll see you there.
There you go.
No, we're really excited about the partnership. You've got a great deal of experience in retail. I've known you for a long time, and one thing about Dan is he's very customer focused, and it's all about the customer, as we've heard today,
100%.
which makes a big difference. That's that trust factor. So it's been a great conversation. Really enjoyed it. Dan can be found. His stores can be found at thenaturalfitfootwear.com.au.
Correct.
And he's got social media and all that. And obviously, we can be found at comfortco.com.au and also on the podcast. So really appreciate the time with everyone. And any feedback, please, any questions for Dan, don't hesitate to correspond or ask the questions, and Dan will be happily answer and give you some intel from that perspective. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, listeners. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Comfort Walk and Talk. If this episode has stepped up your foot care game, we'd love your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
And don't forget to subscribe on your favourite platform so you never miss a step on your journey to comfort.
And for more insights, follow us at our social channels at the Comfort Walk and Talk. Walk comfortably until we meet again.